Welcome back to another installment of Second Opinion. In today's video, I want to talk about a certain classification of Dynamax Pokemon that hold a place near and dear to my heart, these being Pokemon that can fulfill multiple roles. Historically, there hasn't been a good name for them, and so today I'm coining a more official term I'd like to use when referring to this class of Pokemon, a Dynamax Flex. As always, I'll dive a bit deeper into exactly what I mean and why these Pokemon are so powerful. What is a Dynamax Flex? As mentioned, I'm using the term Dynamax Flex to refer to Pokemon that can fulfill multiple roles. This means that their stats are high enough in at least two values to enable such a feat. Oftentimes, these Pokemon end up overshadowed by other Pokemon that specialize in one role, but today, I'll talk about why versatility is sometimes just as powerful, if not more so. One subcategory of Flex Pokemon include Gigantamax Pokemon. I've covered how the Gigantamax power scale works in prior videos, but essentially, all Gigantamax Pokemon pack an extra punch with their attacks, giving them some offensive potential no matter what their stat spread looks like. Let's examine one example further. Zacian is perhaps the quintessential case study for this archetype. It happens to be the strongest Steel-type attacker in the format, no thanks to its 332 attack stat, allowing it to outclass even the unreleased Steel-type Gigantamax attackers. What many players overlook, however, is its 240 defense stat that outclasses many conventional tanks. In this way, Zacian acts as an attacker in most scenarios, but depending on the matchup, can be used as a tank, or maybe even both. Let's use Dynamax Lugia as a perfect example of this in action. Lugia is one of the more difficult Dynamax battles as of late, hitting hard and forcing players to make use out of every max phase they can. When dealing with Lugia in smaller lobbies of 2 or 3, this is even more noticeable. Let's see Zacian in action here. You can see that between phases, Zacian tanks well enough to not lose all of its shields, which becomes valuable in a moment. When Zacian enters the Dynamax phase, I only need to replenish 1 or 2 shields, leaving my final max move available for a fully powered up Behemoth Blade. From my last video, we know that this is not chump damage either. A few hundred damage certainly starts to add up throughout the course of the game. What's really special about this is it was ultimately my choice for how I wanted to allocate that additional max move. Could I have used 2 shields to fully replenish instead of 1? Sure. But that calculated risk was ultimately still mine to make. Let's now take a look at Blissey. Largely lauded as the king of tanking, we cannot deny that Blissey possesses a truly godlike stamina stat, making it an excellent healer. This means that even against non-resisted hits, Blissey has plenty of HP to spare. Thus, it's undeniable that Blissey passes the healer test with flying colors. But does this survivability qualify Blissey as a tank as well, and therefore a flex? For experiment consistency's sake, let's again use Blissey to tank against Dynamax Lugia. We'll follow a similar example, putting up shields as soon as the Dynamax phase hits, and see where that takes us. So clearly, we can see that Blissey doesn't take hits nearly as well as we might have thought. Sure, Blissey can't be one-shot by an incoming attack, but for the purposes of tanking, let's be precise. If Blissey loses all of its shields in a Dynamax phase, is it truly fulfilling the role of a flex? Blissey must spend all of its 3 next max moves to replenish those shields. Any fewer shields, and Blissey is now not matching parity with the Dynamax boss. We saw previously with Zacian that it could survive to another max phase with shields remaining, which ultimately gave the player autonomy to choose how to allocate their moves, be it more attacks or shields. With Blissey, we are robbed of that choice. which is the major advantage of a flex. What could you do with your spare max moves if you didn't need to replenish all 3 of your shields or heal 3 times? Thus, I'd posture that Blissey does not qualify as a tanking flex. Naturally, this begs the question, which Pokemon do qualify for this label? It's hard to say definitively, as the line between acceptable stats and unacceptable stats isn't some line in the sand. However, we can draw on our experience and observations. On screen are some of my favorite picks. These are Pokemon that I have used firsthand to fulfill multiple roles. While each has a primary role that it tends to perform better, their secondary roles have come in clutch on occasion. Whether that was giving an extra healing boost when my party is in trouble, adding an alternative taunt to relieve some of the pressure on a teammate's tank, or chipping in meaningful damage to finish off a boss more quickly. Ultimately, the appeal of a flex comes down to the choice and flexibility that these Pokemon afford you. For players like me who find being adaptable when playing Dynamax battles valuable, consider taking a second look at some of these Pokemon the next time you're investing max particles or team building. I'm curious, are there any flex Pokemon you've encountered that I might have missed? Drop a comment below. And if you found today's second opinion valuable, don't forget to like and subscribe. Till next time.